podcasting, social media, blogging, video marketing. Turn your online business vision to a profitable income. Learn all about it here at the Web Success Strategies podcast. And now, introducing your host, Demetria Zinga.
Hi, and welcome to the Web Success Strategies podcast. I'm Demetria, your host. Today, I have a very special interview to bring you, and it's our very first interview, so I'm really excited about bringing to you our first guest. And today's guest is Alyssa Avant, and I'm excited because she has some information to share with you about her role as a virtual assistant. And if you are a solopreneur, and if you are an online business owner, an entrepreneur, then you probably understand how important it is to have someone on your team that can help you to get all of your tasks accomplished. So Alyssa will be talking to us about that, as well as for those who are interested in starting their own virtual assistant programs, how to go about doing that. So I'm excited about this interview, and we'll get right into it. Ahead of us, we have around 45 minutes or so of the interview. So go ahead and kick back and relax, grab a cup of tea or coffee or whatever you like to drink, and listen in to the interview. I'll be back at the end to share a few extra pointers, and that will be it for this show. So let's get straight into the interview. Hi, and welcome to today's Web Success Strategies podcast. We have with us Alyssa Avant. Alyssa is a Christian author and speaker, and she's been published in the Inspired Women Succeed book, and is the author of Faith Leaps, the Christian Mom's Guide to Passion, Purpose, and Profits, and is the creator of the Christian Charm School workbook materials. Alyssa's taken more than one leap of faith in her life in recent years, including quitting not one, but two different jobs, and she hasn't done so without overcoming fear and anxiety, as she suffered from an anxiety disorder since the age of 9. She's learned to cope through faith and through prayer. Now, Alyssa desires to help other women, especially moms, learn to rely on God, believe in themselves, and overcome all obstacles. She loves Coca-Cola Classic, Jesus, her husband, and 3 precious children, although not in that order, and she and her family reside in Carrollton, Mississippi. Hi, Alyssa. Welcome to the show.
Hey, and thank you so much for having me.
You know, I'll tell our listeners also that you and I first connected online in somewhere around 2006, maybe 2006. And you've been a guest on one of my very first podcasts. And since then, you've begun several projects online, plus your virtual assistant business, which we're going to get into that in just a moment. But I'm so happy you're my first interviewee for this podcast. I'm just really excited. And on part of this podcast, I figured it would be great to kind of have an icebreaker, you know, and, you know, because so many business podcasts are serious, very serious. And I thought it would be great to learn about your perspective on life by starting with a favorite quote that you might have. So if you have a favorite quote or a life motto or some saying that you'd like to share with us, could you share that with us, please?
Sure. Well, one of my favorite quotes, and it has been since I was a teenager, is "Attitude is everything." And I don't know where I actually got that from, or if it's, I'm quoting anybody. I don't really think I am. But it was a kind of an anonymous quote that I picked up when I was in high school, and I actually put that on a bulletin board in our high school hallway when I was in charge of it outside the principal's office. And, you know, the thing is that it kind of, no matter what situation we go into, usually our attitude about that situation plays a big part in whether or not we're going to be successful or not. So that's something I've always tried to keep in mind.
Oh, that's a good thing to remember, a good motto. Attitude is everything. And I think that really shows a lot for how you treat your business as well. So we'll get into that in just a moment. Can you tell me how you got started in the virtual assistant business?
Sure, absolutely. So I began in the virtual assistant business in 2007. So it was just after we met, actually. I had come online in 2006 to try and get my, I was doing a lot of speaking and writing at the time, and I was wanting to get the word out there as much as I could. And so I was researching and trying to get a website up and going and all of those things. And that next year, I was about to have my second child at the time, and this is the week, we're coming upon next week is what I really call the birthday of my business, because that was when in my mind, I started my business, even though it wasn't until a few months later. But the reason I did that is because with the birth of my second child, my daughter, who will be 7 on the 16th, I really, had in my mind that I was going to make sure that I could stay home with her and my other son, and my son that was 4 at the time. And so I really wanted to make sure that I was going to be making an income from home. And the things that I was doing at the time with speaking and writing, I was making some income, but of course it was not as consistent as I needed it to be. So that's when, right about the time she was born, I began to pursue something that would be, more consistent with the income that I could do at home. And it just so happened I had been doing a lot of writing, and I had a blog for my ministry at the time, my speaking ministry, and I had just looked everywhere for help with how I could begin to make an income from that. And actually had taught people that I was networking with to reach out to me and say, you're really, your writing is very good, and I think that I could hire you to do some ghostwriting for me if you're interested in writing some articles or blog posts. And I said yes to that, and within a few weeks, I had several clients from that network of associations online. It was just people I knew online. I didn't know them any other way. And so I actually built the first business that I built in 2007 was the ghostwriting portion of it. And really that is like a virtual assistant piece, even though I called it a ghostwriter. And as I added to that, by 2009, I kind of gotten burnt out a little bit on some ghostwriting because I was a writer, but I no longer had time to write for myself because I was always writing for clients. And so I was looking for other things I could do. And as I had built that business, I discovered that I needed a website, I needed to market it, I needed a newsletter, I needed this, I needed that. And I taught myself how to do those things because at the time I was a stay-at-home mom, working from home full-time with a toddler and a preschooler. And then I ended up having a third child. So he's going to be 6 this summer. So, I had 3 babies basically at home. And so I had begun to just teach myself what I could. And other people began to ask me, can you do that for me? How did you get your website up? How did you do this? How did you do that? And as I began to network with people, they just started asking me to do things for them, and that turned into my VA business. So
I find that really exciting.
Yeah, it wasn't planned at all.
Right. I love that. I love the spontaneity of you are teaching yourself these tools that you need for your own business and for what your passions are. And you wanted to write, and as you're developing your business, people are asking you, how did you do that? Can you help me with my business? And so I think that's just awesome how it comes together and you're able to work based on your passions and what you enjoy doing. And then as you learn how to do that, you're passing that knowledge on to other people. That's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much how it happened too, because I just, I knew that it was just a thing of necessity for me. I knew this is what I wanted to do as far as staying home with my kids and being able to pursue, some of the God-given passions that I had about speaking and writing. I was still doing those things. And I was also pursuing a master's degree, which, I just did that off and on. It took me 10 years, but I, did that off and on during that time as well. And so I basically just did this all out of necessity, and it just kind of all fell into place. Now, not that it fell into place all at one time. A lot of people get discouraged about that when they're trying to build a business, because it didn't just all happen overnight. It happened gradually, and the pieces just came into place. And, some of those years were a lot tougher than others, and, I have whole stories around that.
Right.
Because it wasn't an overnight success by any means.
That's something to think about. And we're going to get into that pretty soon also, because I think a lot of people get discouraged after, a few months, a year, and it's just people give up, and they think that perhaps, working online is not the way to go, or it's taking too long. But we're going to get into that in just a little bit, because you've just mentioned something I think that's so important, is that it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time to build a profitable business. So that's good. Now, many of us listening may already have a VA. Some of us do, some don't. And the value of these types of services. Some people listening may not understand exactly, though, what a VA actually is and what a virtual assistant does. So can you break it down for us and tell us exactly what is a virtual assistant?
Yeah, Yes, absolutely. So a virtual assistant, you can think of a virtual assistant a lot like you would someone that is a technical assistant or administrative assistant in an office setting, but that person, instead of working in the office itself, they work virtually. So a lot of times a virtual assistant can do anything from graphic design to web design to just your data entry type things to communication as far as email and newsletters and all that. Most virtual assistants choose a niche. They're either they're niching themselves by, okay, I'm a graphic and web person, or okay, I'm just focused on data entry and that kind of stuff, or okay, I'm really good with the telephone and that kind of stuff, telesales and things like that. And then, or a virtual assistant might niche themselves, and they might do this in two ways. They can either do it that way based on their skills and what they like to do, what they're good at, or they can do it based on the industry that they want to work with. So, for example, I do both because I am not only a technical virtual assistant dealing with mostly the behind-the-scenes pieces of your website, your newsletter, and your teleseminars and things like that, but I'm also niching myself in the sense of I work with coaches, authors, and speakers. So that's the people I enjoy working with the most. Not to say I wouldn't ever work with you if you weren't a coach, an author, or a speaker, but those are the people that really my expertise and my experience and my skills work the best for. And then I know that there are people out there that do the same thing for direct sales people, that do it for real estate agents, that, they niche themselves, or they have a skill set that really lends itself to that field or those careers. So those are a couple ways that you can think about it and can see how a virtual assistant can help you based on your needs or your particular area of expertise.
Awesome. So what I'm hearing is that if a niche market is specifically important, especially when you're going to cater your services to a certain market, that it makes it a lot easier, so you know what to expect when you're working with a life coach or a speaker or an author versus another VA who may cater to the real estate market. So maybe there's a little bit of a difference there, but basically you're offering virtual services that will help assist a business in their tasks online. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So I know you've already mentioned a few things you've done. What are some other specific things that you do as a virtual assistant? You mentioned graphics, and can you name some of the things that you do?
Sure. I actually don't do graphics.
Okay.
That's, a piece that people can do, but I actually do WordPress websites. So I can set up a website from scratch, or I can remake someone's website, do a redesign, that kind of thing. I also do sales pages or opt-in pages. So if you have like a new product or service, or if you're wanting to build your list, I do help people set up, an autoresponder series or an opt-in where they're giving away, something of value for free to their those that are their potential clients and customers, and in exchange for a name and email address. So I'll set up what some people call a squeeze page or an opt-in page, where we can collect that information and create a list. And the same thing with sales pages. I do those as well. I do a lot of telesummits or live webinars or live conference calls, things like that for my clients. Monitor those, set them up, get them going. We're actually getting into doing Hangouts. I'm doing one later tonight for a client, doing the Google Hangouts, so monitoring those and setting those up and sending out invitations for them, that type of thing. And the other thing that I've done a lot of recently, as Kindle has become so popular, is helping these authors get their books. A lot of authors may have been an author for a long time, and so their books came out years ago or several years ago before the Kindle even came out. And so getting their books on Kindle and helping them to promote them online through, some book promotion campaigns and things like that. So that's something I've done a lot of recently.
That sounds really exciting. What I love is that you're utilizing all these different tools, like Google Plus, like Google Hangouts. I think that's really, it's a lot of fun when you start to see all the things you can do as a VA. I think the opportunities are probably endless, the things that you can
They
do.
really, really are.
To help.
People come to me all the time asking about becoming a virtual assistant, and that's actually, I do some training on that. I'm working on a brand new site for training to be a virtual assistant, and, people say, I really kind of giggle into the question or the idea that I don't have any skills that I can promote online, but that's impossible. Because if you can copy and paste, like if you know enough about a computer to select something and copy and paste it, you can find a job, a virtual job. So
wow.
It's pretty,
right.
It's pretty funny to me because literally there are just thousands of things that you can do. If you can do research, like do you love just to, one of the things I've always been really kind of crazy about, and my husband says that I get off on these little different tangents, is if I get this idea that, hey, this could work or something could happen, then I go and Google and I research it, and you can just spend hours and hours doing that. Well, somebody will actually pay you to do that. There are people that need research done, and really that's all they want you to do is go Google it and provide a list. I've done that for clients recently, people that are looking to get their books out there into a certain community, like if they wrote a book on anxiety, for example, anxiety disorders, and they want to get it out to all the counselors. So you can go research and find counselors and create a list. And it's just, there's so many things that you can do for people that you don't even realize that people need.
Wow. Yeah, we never know until you're talking with a client and then suddenly they're giving you all the list of things that they would like to have help with, and you would have never thought that anybody would need help with that. So it's like, wow, this is a new opportunity that I can explore. So I think that's an awesome thing that in virtual assistant, as a virtual assistant, there's always something new you can learn and always something that you can do for your client that perhaps you didn't, maybe there wasn't a need for it last year or the year before, but now with the turn of our society and the way things are going with social media, there are new things that are needed in business, and so there's always going to be something new that you could do. So I think that's an exciting field, virtual assistant. Well, what are some of the most requested services that clients have asked you to do for them?
Well, I do a lot of the same things over and over again, and one of those things that I do a lot is that I've already mentioned is the list setup. So once you get into online business, if you are following any of the big gurus or, people and coaches, business coaches in online business, they'll tell you that the money is in the list. And so if you don't have a list of contacts that you're able to email on a consistent basis and share information with, then you really don't have, a way to make money. And so that's a big thing, especially for other coaches, authors, speakers, to share their information with the world, and to get buyers, then they need a list. And so I set up a ton of lists in Aweber. I use Aweber mostly. Most of my clients use Aweber because of it having all the pieces that you need in the autoresponders and things like that. But you can actually set up, a list where you're giving away a free ebook about, 5 healthy meals that you can start eating this week to set yourself up for, healthy eating habits or whatever, just as an example. And then you get their name and their email address, and then they send you this series of 5 emails for the next 5 days. They'll send you a grocery list and then these series of emails of what to cook. So that's just an example from like a health coach perspective. And so, I set that all up to where I set it up one time, and 2 years from now, you as a health coach could be still collecting on your website names and email addresses of people that are interested in that free offer. So, and then you can begin to create products and set up sales pages. I'm doing that a lot lately for people that have these products or services. Set up the sales page. You email that list. They go to the sales page and they can purchase your product. So, and we set up a whole series to where a lot of my clients are realizing that hey, they need this funnel, or what we call a marketing funnel of, hey, you get a free offer, then you get a low-cost product, then you get kind of a mid-cost product, and then you get a signature program that you're selling, and we need to set information to a client in a very slow but methodical way that, hey, they came to my website, they may have read an article, they saw that I could give them this free gift, but I'm not going to shove, my $500 signature program at them today. I'm going to give them some more free stuff and share with them my $9.99 ebook or whatever, and slowly get them warmed up to the idea that, hey, I know what I'm talking about, and then I'll invite them to my signature program later on down the road, unless they're cheaper now. So
you're also helping with You're helping also with online marketing, just helping them with the funnel.
Yeah, helping them to understand what they need, because what I find a lot with my clients is that they might have gone and listened to this coach's webinar, or, maybe they listened to this coach's, they downloaded this coach's free example of how you put your online business together, but then they don't really know what they need or how to do it. They don't know what AWeber is. They don't know what an autoresponder is. They don't understand the pieces they need. And because I've been doing this for so long, I say, oh, you need da-da-da-da-da. And they say, well, if you'll just tell me what to give you and you can set this up for me, then that would be great, And they're really usually excited about the fact that, hey, I do know what they're talking about, so that's helpful.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So would you say that which part of your job is the most favorite for you? What do you love doing the most?
Above all, even though I am a virtual assistant and I do the service stuff, I do the actual hands-on stuff, I really enjoy sharing the information with people. So whether that be that I'm telling a client how this is going to work and put the pieces together and then get really excited about that process, or I'm telling you the VA or a woman that just came to me for the first time and said, how do you get started as a virtual assistant? And I'm sharing with her how to do that and how to put it together. So training or, consulting, I don't know what you call it. I call it a little bit of both, is actually my favorite piece of what I do.
That's awesome. Well, many of my listeners are solopreneurs, and we've been winging it on our own for years. So my hand is raised on that one. I just happen to be in that count. But truthfully, I'm getting to that point where I'm in serious need of outsourcing, which is something I mentioned in my last podcast about reaching out for help when you need it. And I honestly know it cannot be long before I can't juggle 3 blogs, 2 podcasts, a team of guest writers, all the social media in between. So I'm going to need some help. And I think I wanted to bring you on the podcast today because I've seen your consistency over the years in helping businesses with your VA services. And now that I'm going to be in need of some help very soon, I figured you'd be just the person to talk to and find out more about being a VA. So here's my question for you. Now, what are some key questions you would encourage us to ask for those in need of a virtual assistant? What questions would we or should we ask when looking for someone to fill this role in our business?
Well, are you meaning that you're going to ask the virtual assistant themselves or asking yourself questions?
I would say just asking what are some key questions that I should be thinking about before I hire a virtual assistant? What are some things that I need to be thinking about?
Well,
do I need to be putting some things into place first, or how does that work? Is from your point of view, being a virtual assistant, would you rather, someone come prepared with this is what I need, or because so many of us, we have so much that we need help with, but probably don't want to overload, and it's just so much. It can be overwhelming because there's so much we need help with.
Here's what I find. I find one of two things, and I've had clients recently even to kind of just disappear because of the fact that when they came to me in the beginning, they had heard that they needed a virtual assistant. They've been told that. They've seen that in social media. They've seen their colleagues talking about it on the forums. They said, "Oh, get you a virtual assistant, and everything will change for you." And I think the thing is that if you don't know what you want a virtual assistant to do, even if you don't even have an idea of where you're really going with your business, then it's really hard to give somebody those tasks to do. If you know that you, for example, need to set up your free offer and you want to create your products and that kind of thing, if you have at least good ideas about your products themselves, I can help someone to kind of put the pieces together. But if you have no idea what you're doing yet, and you don't, you're a newbie in your business, and you don't really know even you don't even have a product idea in mind or a free offer idea in mind, then it's going to be really hard for me to help you because of the fact that, I can't, even though I'm very creative, I can't create something for somebody.
Right.
That
you can't pull it magic out of a hat. Yeah.
Right. I can't think for them. So say they're wanting to teach somebody how to research their ancestors or something like that. Then I don't know anything about ancestry. I'm not a genealogist, so I don't know what that person would need. So I think that you really need to research and understand your own niche, your own area of expertise, your own target market. That's all of that kind of work you got to do yourself. I can't do it for you. I think you probably hire a coach to help you pull that out of your head and that kind of thing, but I don't do that piece. But if you come to me and you say, my coach said I needed X, Y, Z, and here's my ideas, and, I've got all these articles, and I have all this stuff, and, I can help you put it together then. And you just think about in your mind, what are you doing that you absolutely hate doing? So maybe it's answering all those emails or trying to fix things on your website and you really don't understand what you're doing, or you don't even know where to begin to set up an autoresponder or something like that, where you know kind of what you're wanting to do, but maybe you just don't know the steps that it takes to get there. Then I love to help people like that. But when they come to me and they say, my friend or my coach or my so-and-so told me I needed to get a virtual assistant and that would really help me, what can you do for me? But you can't tell me what you're doing, then I have a hard time telling you what I can do for you.
Right. So the key is come prepared. We should come prepared with exactly what our business strategy is and know exactly what pieces we need in place, and then we're able to tell a VA, okay, can you do this for me? These are the exact pieces that I need in my business strategy, and can you help me with my autoresponder? Can you help me with my sales page? So you have a clear idea of what you're going to be doing, and you can get right on it with the task and just help them with that specific task.
Yeah, even if they don't know the terminology, because I can remember early on in my business, one of the first people I ever worked with was actually a girl that I met networking. We actually went to a conference together, and when we were at the conference, she kind of became my client, and we sat, I can remember sitting in the hotel room, side by side on the bed, I was trying to teach her what an autoresponder was. And I can remember sitting there, and she knew that she needed to email her customers, and she understood that, but she didn't know what to call that. So she's like, how do I automatically email my customers when they sign up? I'm like, that's an autoresponder. This is how it works. And I told her what I needed, and she hammered out. I remember us doing this. We had some free time at the conference. She hammered out a few emails, and I showed her, this, I'm going to put them in here. And so if you can just provide me with what if I say, okay, we need a welcome email for your autoresponder, when somebody signs up, they get an email automatically, I can kind of tell you what that means. And, you don't have to know all the terms and terminology, but maybe you know that you need a list. If you know that much, I can help you. And so,
right. Okay.
Some people kind of get scared because they just don't know all the terms. And I don't mind somebody that doesn't know terms, but if they don't have any ideas at all for their business, then that's where I really am not. I'm not a strategist when it comes to deciding, creating a business from scratch. That's not my area of expertise.
Okay, so I see that you also offer helps for individuals interested in beginning their own VA businesses. You mentioned that earlier. So what would you say to someone who wanted to know how they can start their own business as a VA, and how long will it take for them to get their business up and running?
Well, that's one of my favorite things to do, actually. And I actually have a webinar coming up this week. I can provide you with the link, and maybe you could put it, I don't know when this is going live, so you can put it on your website or something. But either way, I'm starting a brand new site called traintobeavirtualassistant.com. It is there. It has a few articles live on it. It has my Hangout from this week. I do a weekly Hangout on Google, Hangouts on Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern. And that's a Q&A hangout, so people send me questions, and I try to answer them in that 30-minute time period. We just go for 30 minutes. But I've been doing a lot of training stuff over the years, and I'm just doing a free stuff, and then I'm going to be offering some programs as well. So if they can just get over, on the website and sign up for the 10 free tips for getting started as a virtual assistant, the free gift there that can get on my list and kind of see what else I'm doing. But getting started as a virtual assistant is very, very easy. Like I said earlier, I believe that everybody has a skill that is sellable that they can get paid for. So there's probably things that you know how to do that you don't realize is actually very profitable. So, one of the first things that I have those people to do that come to me is to kind of brainstorm all the things that they can do well, and they know how to do well, computer-wise, using the Internet.
Mm-hmm.
Those kind of things. Are they good with communication? Do they write well? Can they have a professional business conversation? Can they answer phone calls or whatever in a professional manner? And
mm-hmm.
then just brainstorm them. But then after you brainstorm, cross off anything you can do it, but it feels like drudgery and it feels like, pulling teeth to do it and you really hate it because you don't want to do that 24/7 for the rest of your life. If, you don't want that to be your job, even though it's a bit, for me, virtual assistant is a business. I pursue this as an entrepreneur. There's some virtual assistants that all they want to do is go and work for a few clients, and it's not really, they want to be a contractor, so they just,
mm-hmm.
they work for the client. I pursue virtual assistant, my business as an entrepreneur, so I want to keep growing and keep changing and add, other income streams and that kind of stuff. And so I want people to be aware that, you want to do stuff that you love doing, and you can do it over and over again and not get sick of it. And so
right.
I weeded out over the years things that, yes, I could do that. I could answer people's emails for them, monitor somebody's email account. I can do that, but I hate it, so I don't even offer it.
Right. Yeah, just because you can do it doesn't mean you should offer that as a service, especially if you don't like it. So right.
Exactly. I can talk on the phone and have a professional business conversation, but do I want to do sales calls? Absolutely not. So,
right.
So think about those things, and then, set some goals and determine what it is that you can do. And it really just goes doing some networking. It's funny. There are a ton of freelancers' websites where you can get jobs, clients based on like a job listing and things like that. And when I first started my business, I don't know that if I didn't know those existed or if I was scared of them or what, but I got all my clients based on networking. So networking online, that was before Twitter. That was before Facebook was a business place. It was more of a college kid hangout.
Right.
And it was before Pinterest or Google+. I got all my clients based on networking. I networked in, there was another platform called Rise, which you probably remember.
I remember that, yes.
And then there were a lot of forums at the time, just PHP forums. And so
forums were really big back then.
Yeah, they were. So I networked on those forums and on Rise, and that's where I found all my clients. I never met any of them until I started going to some business conferences and actually met some of them face-to-face over the years. But, that's how I got clients, was just talking to other people and opening my mouth. And so sometimes I've always said, you're the best advertiser you can have because you just got to open your mouth. But
right.
It's easier to do behind a computer screen, I promise. It's so much easier than doing it in real life. But
yeah.
It's available and it's out there. And now that I realize that there are those freelance websites, then, I have gotten some jobs from those as well. I actually tell people now to start there because, you log into the website. There are 223,000 jobs available today on this website or whatever. It's usually a really large number. And you can almost guarantee to get something and at least get you started, even if it's a lower hourly rate than you really want to accept. It gets you started, and then you can go up from there. And so that's, kind of where I tell people to get started. But I do offer some training. It's pretty low-cost training, in my opinion. I know that when I started out, I didn't have the money to invest a lot of money. I only invested in one place that, I went and got some training. And so, I think training is definitely what the one thing I would invest in, if nothing else, because it can, just business training, not necessarily training on a particular skill, but just the basics of business, because there are so many things that I wish that I could have had somebody tell me, instead of having to learn it the hard way.
Right. There's a lot that comes with getting underneath a training and just gleaning from that. It's so important that we put ourselves in that position where we can receive and learn, and then we're going to be more prepared to move ahead with our own business. So that's really important. Well, we're going to mention your website, the one that you just told me about that you're starting really soon. We'll mention that also in our show notes. But one last question for you. I want to know about life-business balance, because as a mom, we have so much, to balance, so much on our plates. And this podcast has a little bit of a mompreneur bent to it. I do like to address the needs of mom entrepreneurs and female entrepreneurs. I think that's just really my heart right now, and that's where I am in my place in life. So as a mom, how do you balance your at-home business life with your family life? Can you just give us a few tips on the struggle that so many female entrepreneurs and mompreneurs find to be a reality for us when we're balancing family and business?
Absolutely. That's one thing that's been near and dear to my heart for a really long time. I started my business with a baby, a toddler, it was a baby, and then she became a toddler, and then I had another baby, because they were 16 months apart, and a preschooler. So I did a lot with one hand back in those days, and filling bottles and all this stuff. So I know how that is. I now have 2 in elementary and a kindergartner who will be in elementary next year. And so I know having your children under your feet the entire time you're trying to do business, and I know having kids out of the house for 8 hours a day and doing business. Either way, it's still difficult. It's not. Neither is a bed of roses, but
right.
It's also better than, for me, it's a better suited for a mom, for me. I know there's some moms that are all about their careers, and that, I respect that. But for me, it is a great way for a mom to be able to do both and to do, be available for her family. And
right.
In order to do that, you really have to set some boundaries. I didn't do this well in the first days of my business or first years of my business. I've only done this in the past year, and that is setting boundaries such as specific times that, like office hours that you're available to clients, and that they know after that specific time of day you're not going to answer your phone or an email, and you have 24 hours to answer your email. Just setting those expectations with clients from day one helps a ton.
That's a good tip.
Because, even though I might work at night, I don't make it a habit for my clients to know that.
Right.
And, try not to answer emails after a certain time of day. You can even get a little handy-dandy tool to put in I know I use Gmail, called Boomerang, and you can set up the email to answer it, and it'll say send later, and you can choose to send it the next morning so that, hey, your thoughts don't, you don't forget what you wanted to say to the person while you're maybe working on it, the specific question that comes up or something like that, but yet it doesn't look like you're sending an email during your family time. So
right.
That's been wonderful for me.
Okay, we'll have to add that to our show notes. Boomerang?
Yeah, it's called Boomerang, and
okay.
I don't know if it works with I think it works with web-based email, like Gmail and, things like that. I don't know if there's a version for Outlook or anything. I've used Gmail for years, and I've had Boomerang, and it allows you to send the email later. So besides that and boundaries, just when, taking advantage of the fact that you have a flexible schedule. And so, it's okay. That's the one thing. It's okay to decide that you want a day off and to take it. That's part of the luxury of being an entrepreneur, a business owner. If your kid gets sick and that child really needs you, don't worry about the fact that you have client work. There are times where you can, call in sick in emergencies, and you really don't even have to tell anybody. It just happens.
Right.
And I just think that it's a flexible job, and it's a flexible way of life, and use that to your advantage, because that's what it's all about, really. Is being able to do what you want to do when you want to do it, because it's the lifestyle that you've chosen. So those are really the big things. Don't beat yourself up about it. Don't take on too much. I know that out of desperation, sometimes in the past, I have not set those boundaries, and I have taken on too much. And, you're getting burnt out really fast doing that. So you want to be smart about it.
Exactly.
Really, that's all. Those are kind of the hard lessons that I've learned.
Those are big ones. Those are major ones, actually. Boundaries is so important. And just, yes. I mean, that's so important. I have so many stories of circumstances in my businesses over the years where I didn't set the boundaries. And so I know the burn and the feeling of not setting the boundaries from the beginning. And I think that's such an important tip. So I'm glad you mentioned that one. And also just the fact that we have the flexibility. It's okay to take some time off. It's okay if your child is sick to tend to your child. Actually, we should attend to our kids when they need us. And so I think that's one of the beauties of being an entrepreneur and having the flexibility we have, is that we can take advantage of that, and that we don't have to be glued to our laptop, 24/7. So it's really important, and it's awesome that we have that flexibility. So thank you for bringing that up and mentioning those tips for mompreneurs. That's really helpful. And before we go, I would love for you to mention your resources again, some of the ones that you've already mentioned, and any additional products, books, websites, anything else that you like to mention that you offer, and then also tell us how our listeners can reach you.
Okay, great. Well, first of all, as a virtual assistant, my website for that is AlyssaAvant.com, which is AlyssaAvant.com. That's my VA website that has all the information about working with me if you're looking for a virtual assistant. The new website that is coming out, it's actually live, but it's very bare bones. It's traintobeavirtualassistant.com, and it's all spelled out. So traintobeavirtualassistant.com. The Hangouts that I'm doing on Tuesdays are live there. You go to the Hangout tab, and those will be live. You just refresh the page on that date and time on Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Central. And there's also the free gift that's over there, 10 steps for getting started as a virtual assistant. And I have a webinar coming up this week, and there's information about that as well. So I would just really like to help anyone that is interested in becoming a virtual assistant. I do the Q&A calls every week just to help people that, maybe can't invest in the training, but I'm also coming out with training as well that is very inexpensive that they can invest in.
Awesome. You have a lot of resources and a lot to offer, so we will place that on the website so that we can see on this episode and these show notes, all of your links, and that way everybody can go over and check out what you have to offer and go to those webinars. So thank you so much, Alyssa. That was really a good interview. I enjoyed chatting with you.
Yes, thank you so much, Demetria. I really enjoyed it. I can't believe we've known each other for that long. It really is crazy.
I know. It's been a long time. When you mentioned Rise, I said, okay, yeah, we go way back to 2005 or 6.
Kind of old school.
We are. All right. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks.
So thank you so much for listening in on the interview. And I hope that you will check out Alyssa's services. Again, AlyssaAvant.com. And also her website, traintobeavirtualassistant.com. Go ahead and check out Alyssa's products and services and see what she can do to help you. Visit her Google Hangouts. Check out her upcoming webinars. And you can find all of this information on episode number 7 of the Web Success Strategies podcast. You can go to websuccesscoaching.com and find episode 7. Everything you need is right there in the show notes. And if you need any help with podcasting, I'm here to help you with that. So I am excited about helping with podcasting and helping you to get started if you haven't already. If you need a podcast consultant, that's what I'm here for. Alyssa and I just wrapped up a conversation about doing those things that we enjoy doing as entrepreneurs and the flexibility that we have. And one of the things that I enjoy doing is helping to go behind the scenes and get you set up with your podcast. I also enjoy coaching the passions out of you. So if you don't know quite yet what it is that you really want to do online, but you know you have some desire to be online and to start your business, then one of my goals is to help you evaluate a business that would work well for you. So I can help you in that area, as well as get you some strategies that will help you to create a profitable business online. You want to have a web success strategy. So we'll talk more about that in future podcasts. But for now, I hope that you'll check out Alyssa and see what she has to offer. Also, if you haven't been to visit the website yet, websuccesscoaching.com, please visit it. Check out the videos. I've just added a couple of more videos on several topics. One video that I've shared recently is about audio editing software and how to use Audacity to record your podcast. I've also created a video on whether or not WordPress.com is going to work for a business. So WordPress.com versus WordPress.org, which is better. I also have a video about how to schedule blog posts using Google Drive. And I have an Overcoming Your Business Fears coaching video for mompreneurs and women. And recently, I've just added a video, today in fact, all about business books for women entrepreneurs. So these are books that I'm reading currently for the month of March. And I would love to know what books you're reading. What are some things that you're doing that's exciting for you? So that's what's going on at the website, and I hope that you'll hop over and see what we're doing at websuccesscoaching.com. So thank you so much for listening, and you have a blessed week to your web success.